Alright guys, I've got a new amplifier video for you today. Right here I have a brand new Fender Mustang GTX100. We're going to do an unboxing, demo, and review of it. Let's check it out. Alright guys, so the Fender Mustang amps are basically their flagship digital modeling amps. These are meant to be just really great all-around, amps that you can use for a variety of different things, from recording to practicing at home to even playing live gigs, because this particular model here, I mean, this is a combo amp, of course, but you've got 100 watts of power. It's a solid-state amp, so this is definitely an amp that's large enough that you can go and play a show with it. Now, the Mustang series has been around for a while, but this year they've done some really cool updates to it. And in particular, they've really changed the look of the amplifier. From the pictures I've seen, it's a much more traditional Fender look as opposed to the sort of more modern vibe that they were going for before. So I want to get the box open and take a look at it and see what you guys think of that. So we'll go ahead and do the unboxing now, and then of course we're going to check out all the features and plug it in and listen to how it sounds. But first, let's just get this thing open here. I've got my little box knife here. We'll go ahead and slice this open. Okay. All right, we'll put that back in the scabbard. Okay, so right up on the top here, we've got a little get started, connect with the Fender Tone App. That's the app that you can use to control the amplifier and, download presets and all kinds of cool stuff like that. So we'll save that on the side there. Okay, now, when I open an amplifier out of the box, I always like to look at the packaging, because obviously amplifiers, there's a lot of sensitive electronics in them and so forth, and you want to make sure that they're not going to be damaged in shipping. Now, fortunately, Fender in general is really good about how they package their amplifiers. They've got this thick, kind of soft foam stuff that they stick in the box there. And I'm just going to pull this out of the box here. It's still in a bag, so we'll take this out. All right. All right, let me get my little knife out again here. We just got to cut the tape on here. There we go. And we'll just slip this down. Oh, that's got a really nice smell to it. I love that new amplifier smell. Take off a little bit of tissue here. And we got the new little hang tags right on there. I guess I think I'm done with this. Okay, let me take this all the way off here. All right, guys. There it is. So if you look at the front here, they've redone just how the front of the amp looks, the grill and everything, the handle. This is sort of a combination. I'll show you some close-ups of the control panel here. This is sort of a combination of the way the amp was before with the control setup, but just the overall look, especially from the front of the amp, it looks like a much more traditional Fender amp now. Here, I'll move this for a second, and let's just compare this really quick to my Blues Junior, which is right here. And, the Blues Junior is again, it's a traditional Fender amplifier. It's pretty similar, and I like that. Now, in the back of the amp, there's a very nice foot switch. Let me take this out of the plastic so we can look at this. All right. Yeah, this is a very nice foot switch. So, of course, you can run through your different presets, different patches, and so forth. You can activate the tuner and control the looper, which this amplifier has. You can control all that stuff from the foot switch. It even connects with just a standard 1/4-inch cable, which is really cool. So I'll put this back in here, and let me flip the amplifier around and show you the backside. One thing that's especially cool is the foot switch has these Velcro straps inside the back of the amplifier case there. So you can keep it in there and keep it secure. It's not going to be banging around, and it'll help you from losing the foot switch, which would be a real hassle. Now, the other thing I want to draw your attention to here is the speaker. This is a nice big 12-inch speaker. It's an open back cabinet, so this is going to be a very loud amplifier. And also, this is a Celestion. It's kind of, it's like a Celestion made for Fender, for this amplifier. So this is not like a standard Celestion speaker that you can buy off the shelf. It's something that's kind of proprietary to this amplifier. But obviously, we're going to listen to this in just a second here and find out how that sounds. So I'll go ahead and tip this forward here so we can look at the controls. Most of these controls up here are pretty standard: gain, volume, treble, middle, bass, reverb, dedicated reverb control, and an overall master volume. Inputs over here. Now down here you've got a headphone out jack, and this is a nice, just a little 1/8-inch headphone, or 3.5 millimeters if you prefer. So you can just, connect your earbuds or really any small headphone jack into there. Above that you've got an auxiliary in jack. So same thing, if you want to hook up your phone and play a track through that with a hardwire connection, you just plug it in over there. Now this section here, this rotary knob, a button on top, and these other controls here, this is for running through all the different presets and patches and controlling the effects in the amplifier. So we'll get into that in just a second when we do the demo. Now it's got those two jacks up on top, but it actually has a lot more in the way of input and output jacks on the back here. Now if you look here, you've got pairs of jacks, which is really cool because the effects and so forth are all running in stereo on this amplifier. So you can do stereo ins and stereo outs. Now up on the top here, this pair is a pair of XLR line out jacks. So you can send that out to a PA, get a really nice, strong, clean signal coming out of this amplifier going into a PA or something like that. Below that, we've got the effects send, of course, again, left and right, and the effects return left and right. So you can run outboard stereo effects through this amplifier and retain all of the stereo separation. That's a really nice feature that not a lot of amplifiers have. Now, there's one more thing on the back here. A little bit hard to see. It's right above the foot switch jack, but there's a USB port on the back of this amplifier. So this one, and like even some of the previous Mustang amplifiers, you can use this amplifier as a USB audio interface when you hook it up to your computer. Now, as I'm moving this around, one thing I do want to point out, the build quality is good, which is what I expected. I mean, I've checked out some of the earlier models of this amplifier, and the build quality has always been nice. But one thing in particular I noticed is this is a relatively light amplifier. I mean, obviously it's not going to be super heavy because it's a digital amplifier and it's a 12-inch speaker combo amplifier. But this is like a really comfortable weight. I mean, this is something that you can carry it to a show and not wear out your hand or your wrist, if you have to walk down the sidewalk or something glamorous like that. One of the biggest headaches when you're playing a live show is if you're hauling like a 4x12 cab or a heavy tube head. And I mean, guitar players that play gigs, you guys know what I'm talking about here. You carry this stuff in, you get it all set up. Carrying all that weight, especially when you're in a hurry, it can kind of strain or tire out your wrists and your hands. And then you have to go and try and play some intricate guitar part, and it really becomes a hassle. Okay guys, now I'll go into a little bit more detail about the app and some of the kind of software features of this amplifier, but I want to go ahead right now and just give you some tone samples so you guys can hear how this amplifier actually sounds. Now real quick, if you guys enjoy videos like this and you enjoy content like this and you have not already subscribed, please consider subscribing right now. Alright guys, so let's go ahead and hook this thing up, plug in some guitars, and listen to how it sounds. Okay guys, so there were a few sound samples from this amplifier. Now, I say a few because there are like 180, I think, built-in presets that come just standard in the amplifier. And of course, you can create your own presets and save them into the amplifier and expand that even more. So in a relatively concise video, I of course I can't give you every sound that the amplifier can make, but I mean to say that the library of sounds is expansive would be a massive understatement. Now there's a few other key features that we should mention here. The biggest one, of course, is that there's the Fender Tone App that you can download onto your phone. It works on like iPhone or Android. That lets you basically do everything that you could do with the amplifier, but you can do it instead through your phone. So you can control all the settings in the amplifier, and you can also import and even export patches. So one thing you can do is, let's say if you come up with a really cool sound that you like and you want to share it with somebody else, you can take that patch and upload it to the Fender Tone community so other people can download it. And I should mention, that's not a brand new feature. I mean, that has existed before on the Mustang amplifiers. But it is a really cool feature, and a lot of modern amps are doing that these days. But I think Fender in particular, just because of the name and the size of the company, they have, I think, one of the largest sort of communities around these amplifiers. Now, one thing about the app and this amplifier, which to me is a really big deal, is that you don't have to have the app in order to get the most out of the amplifier. Because of the way the controls are on the amplifier, you can still use the amplifier just on its own and still have access to all of the effects and all of the different presets and so forth. I think there's a lot of kind of old school players that don't want to mess around with their phone when they're playing guitar through their amplifier. And for guys like that, sometimes I'm like that too, right? I just want to plug in and go, and I don't want to load an app or make sure the Bluetooth is turned on or whatever. Sometimes you just want to plug in and go, and you can absolutely do that with this amplifier. And I think that's when it comes to these modern amplifiers that uses the apps, I think Fender has done a really good job of that, of not making the playing experience too dependent on the app. Another thing that's nice about this amplifier is the foot switch that it comes with. And the foot switch, of course, lets you do all the standard channel switching and things like that, turning effects off and on, everything that you would expect a foot switch to do. It also gives you access to the looper. But another really important thing about this setup is that the foot switch just comes included. It's basically like standard equipment with the amplifier. There are some other amplifiers, like I can think of like some of the Black Star ID Core amplifiers, in particular where you have to buy the foot switch separately, and it's an additional cost. This amplifier just has the foot switch, which is very nice, just included. Okay, now speaking of cost, let's get straight to it. This is basically a $500 amplifier. It's like $499 is the price I've seen it going for. Now, if you're paying $500 for an amplifier, you're going to have a lot of choices. So what is it about this amplifier that's, going to make you choose this one? In some of these videos, I talk about usability a lot. And if you're paying $500 for an amplifier that basically has one sound or one great tone in it, you have to really, really want that particular tone in order for it to make the price justifiable. I think the big selling point on an amplifier like this is the fact that you can use it for so many different things. You can use it for live playing. It's big and loud enough for that. You can use it for recording because it has the USB interface capability. You can use it for like a more intimate live setting, like if you're going to do a one-man show, you want to do something with a looper, in a small coffee shop. Because it's a digital amplifier, it's solid state powered, you can run it at a very low volume and it's still going to sound really good. And of course you can use it as a bedroom practice amplifier, and you can experiment with different tones and different effects and figure out the sound you want ahead of time before you ever do any live playing. So, I mean, they say like it's an all-in-one amplifier. I mean, that's in the marketing material, right? When you go to the website, it says all-in-one amplifier, but I mean, that's not a lie. I mean, you really can use it for pretty much any musical situation. The other thing, just from a technical standpoint, the fact that they have the stereo connections on the back of the amplifier, that's a rare and pretty important feature. The fact that they have a stereo XLR out, so you can have this on a stage and run it directly into the PA and get a stereo sound with stereo effects and so forth. That's a very professional level feature, and it's something that's really going to take your sound up a notch in a live setting. And also the fact that they have the stereo effects loop connections on the back too. I mean, I have seen some amplifiers that they might have stereo effects, but then they don't have an effects loop. Or they have an effects loop, and it's an amplifier that's meant for live playing, but they're not stereo connections. And it's frustrating when you're in a situation like that because it's like, well, it's just one more jack on the back of the amplifier. It probably costs them 50 cents to put that in. So I feel like just in a lot of ways, this amplifier, it's kind of 110%, right? It kind of goes the extra mile. Now there's one thing I want to mention that might be a little bit divisive, and that is just the overall look of the amplifier. Like I was mentioning earlier, I kind of compared it to my Blues Junior, which is a really traditional amplifier. This has a much more I want to say, I mean, maybe vintage, I guess you could say vintage, but certainly a much more traditional look to it. In a way, I think it looks more expensive, which can be good when you're playing on stage, right? But here's what I'm thinking about with this. Let's say you're playing a style of music which is not very traditional. Let's say you're, playing your new metal favorites or something. Would you want to use an amplifier that looks like this for that kind of style? I think the older versions of the Mustang amplifier, even though in some ways they didn't look as good or as cool, they did look a little bit more stylistically neutral. And so I think if you were to use one of those amplifiers on stage, people wouldn't pay very much attention to it, for better or for worse. This amplifier, even though you can get all of the tones out of it that you want, I think some people might look at the amplifier and automatically in their mind they're going to connect it with a more traditional playing style, even if you're playing something else. But honestly, I want to hear what you guys think about that idea, because I might just be crazy and, coming up with weird ideas in my head, which I often do. I'm the long-haired 80s metal guy, so sometimes I get a little bit too caught up in how things look. Alright guys, as always, I would love to hear your thoughts and comments about this amplifier in the comments section below. What do you think of it? Does anybody out there own one of the previous models of the Mustang amplifier? I would love to hear how you guys like those amps. Like usual, I'll put links for everything in the video description below, and if you guys enjoyed this video, please give me a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you soon.